So this is an interview with Fatema Jafari. And I just want to make sure that Fatema understands that we don't want to share anything that would put her in danger or family in danger. So we appreciate your time to conduct this interview. So Fatema, can you say your name and then your date of birth?
Yeah, I'm Fatema Jafari, and I was born in 31st August.
What year were you born?
1981. It's a tough question of women.
Yeah.
Middle-aged women.
No, we just want to make sure. We just want to make sure we have some context for your experiences here. You've lived through a lot of interesting times in Afghanistan, the history of Afghanistan, and the history of the United States, quite honestly. So the first question I have for you is, what are your first, you were born in Afghanistan, what are some of your first memories of growing up in Afghanistan?
Unfortunately, in 1981, when I was born in Afghanistan, my family, because of Soviet Union invasion, left the country because my family didn't want to involve with the war on that time. That was a kind of mess in Afghanistan in 1982. I think my family left, so I don't remember anything from Afghanistan. Just my parents told me I was born in a central part of Afghanistan called Daikundi, and which was a deprived province in Afghanistan. So I cannot, unfortunately, remember many things from that time.
Okay, so
actually.
So your family about 1982 moved to Iran as refugees in Iran?
Yeah, unfortunately. They didn't have a lot of choices on that time. Just Iran and Pakistan, they could go in these two countries because they had a border with Afghanistan. And so my family, I don't know exactly why, but my family chose to go to Iran. And so, yeah, they left the country.
Where did they
as
settle?
A refugee.
Where did they settle in Iran?
They settled in Tehran, in east part of Tehran called Karaj, a small city. So I grew up there, near Tehran.
You're a refugee in Iran. So what are your early memories of Iran then, as a child?
I remember many family, because of war, left the country, especially in 1981, 82, 83. Many Afghan family left the country, and many of them came to Iran. So I remember when I went to the school, when I was in 9 years old, I think, 9 years old, I was in grade 3. And so once my teacher told me, you have to call your mother and come, we have to meet her or your father. So they informed my parents, because of your identity card belong to the Karaj, and this part of the city belong to the another city called Shahryar, so we cannot accept your children here in this school. You have to go to that part of the city called Karaj, and then you have to take your daughter also to that kind of a school, to that part of the city. It was not really good news, because my father, with a lot of challenges, could find finally a job there. So going to other part of city, which was far from that Shahryar, was a really bad news. I remember many students, many classmates of mine left the school because their parents didn't want to move to other parts of the city, and they couldn't find a house, they couldn't find a job. And just for a girl, it was impossible. Many family who went to Iran came from a conservative family on that time. And so I remember many of my classmates left the schools, and also I was in a danger. But my mother started talking with my father, you have to send my daughter to the school. Without that, I will come back to Afghanistan. I don't want to stay here. I am here just because in Iran, my children have access to a school. In Afghanistan, at that time, I think there was no school. And so finally, my mother could convince my father to send me to a school. But many of my relatives, friends of my father, most of time laugh on my father, why you send your daughter to a school, it is not good. And so in a new school, also that was another problem. For example, me, I was good in on some things, some races held on a school, like painting or something like that. Me and my sister had a little talent on that. So we participated to the competition in a school. And then when we became first or second, our teacher, professor said, you are Afghan, this is not for you. We cannot send you to, for example, to a state, to province to compete with others. It was not I don't remember a good memory of that time, because when my teacher told me, your Afghan refugee children, you do not have a equal right like other student, Irani student, and I think told me no need to compete for anything. So yeah, I remember something like that. I remember when I was 9 years old to I think 12 years old, more than 6 schools I changed, because every school told me your identity card is not appropriate for this part of city. You have to go to other school. And then my father have to send us to other school, and they told us we do not have enough place for you. We cannot accept your children. And then I remember for a year my father sent us in a school very far from the my house. And so my father bought a bike, and so every morning 6 a.m. my father more than 20 kilometers bike by the motorcycle to send me and my sister to the school, put us to the school, and then for 20 kilometers came back to his job. And so yeah, it was really really hard time, I think tough time for a 9 years old children, 10 years old children. And we saw other classmates, they told us we cannot continue and going to a school. So yeah.
So did you complete school in Afghanistan or Iran? Did you said you kept getting moved around. Did you finally end up finishing school?
Yeah. Finally, after 2-3 years, my father could change his identity card to that part of the city that he has a job on that part, and so we could continue our education. But there was another problem, because as an Afghan refugee children, we didn't have right to go to university. We could just continue our high school in Iran, not going to the university. And so it was another big challenge, because we thought, why we are fighting with our family to convince them to send us to school, and then why we are fighting with our for example teachers and director of schools and the government to accept us to a school. And then what will happen? We cannot go to the university. As Afghan refugee children, we couldn't have any job. So that was another challenge for us. But all these kind of things impact on me. When I was in high school, Taliban came to power in Afghanistan. And so a lot of Afghan refugee, Afghan family left country because of brutality of the Taliban. So many of them came to Iran and to the city that I was living there. So the Irani government introduced, recognized them as illegal refugee because they didn't have any kind of documents, any identification card. They didn't have any kind of right, not going to a school. Their children didn't have access to a school because the Iranian school didn't accept them. They told them, we do not have enough place for our children. And then they didn't have any kind of right. I remember many children in the age of 7, 8, in the morning they crying because they couldn't realize, they couldn't understand why they cannot go to the school. In the fall, in Iran, every family going to the shopping and buy new uniform and new stationery for their children, especially for first grade, second grade, and everybody are really happy. But I saw those Afghan children, those Afghan refugee children, they couldn't go to their school. And so it was not understandable for those for those children on that age. So I tried to do something because I thought with myself, well, I cannot do anything. I cannot have any job or I cannot go to the university. So I can teach them. And so I talked with my mother, I talked with my father. My father was not really happy with that decision because they thought it's an illegal job. And if the Iranian authority, government, municipality, police, or others understand about this school, underground school, they could easily send us back to the Afghanistan. And going to the Afghanistan during the Taliban, for me as a young girl, belonged to the Hazara community, which was a huge problem for Taliban also. Not for Taliban, for me, because the Taliban believed if they could kill, for example, 7 Hazara Shia human in Afghanistan, they can go directly to the heaven. And so it was really nightmare for me and my family if the Iranian government could wanted to send back to the Afghanistan. So I tried to convince my family, but finally I could convince my father. I said, I don't teach them at our home. I can teach them to this children home. And so I started teaching with a small number of them. I don't remember, I think 5, 7 of Afghan children. My neighbor came to my home, and during the day my father was out, I could teach them, but they became 10, 12, and 20. And so I thought, yeah, I cannot hide them in my home. My father finally can understand about that, and it make him really angry. So I talked with my student parents and asked them a room to teach them in their room, in their home, not my home. I explained for them about my father and about this illegal activity that I am doing on that situation in Iran. And so finally, one of them told me, okay, you can come to our home. We have a room and we will give it you. I went to their homes, and everybody who knows about our schools come to me and asked me, and came to my father and asked him, please tell your daughter to accept my children. What should I do with my children? And my father told me, okay, take this one, take that one. Also, I couldn't refuse because all of them wants to learn something. And then really soon, I think in 2 weeks, they become more than 40 students in that home. And so the parents of my student told me, excuse me, it is not possible here, more than 40 students in a room. We cannot manage that. Please find somewhere for yourself. And so I asked my mom, please find some place for me. And so she could help me to find a building, but the building doesn't have a window or door, anything. I went there and I asked my sister. My sister is 2.5 years younger than me, to help me with teaching, and so she accepted. So, and very soon they become more than 100. I said, oh my God, what should I do? 100 students. I asked my brother, he was 5 years younger than me. I think he was 13 years old, something like that. He was really young. He was in high school. And so he accepted also, okay, I will teach to your student. Or we could find a place under a stationery shop. It was really good for the shopkeeper because 100 students could buy a lot of pen, pencil, everything. So he was happy, and because of that, he accepted to give our his underground. It was a really big room to give us, and so protect us from police and others. And soon it became more than 300 students. With during 3 years, me, my sister, and my brother tried to teach them. It was not, doesn't have any kind of standard. It was just a room with a blackboard and nothing. And more than in the morning from 6 a.m. we started to teach them. Just with a lot of problem, we could find a book, because on that time just the governmental school give the students the book, and it was really hard to find a book for the children. And so yeah, but it was fun. From 6 a.m. we started to teach them, for example, 20 students from first grade in a 9 to 12, like just for 2 hours, and then for another 2 hours another class. We teach them, I think we had to 9th grade. My sister teach them, because she studied mathematics in a high school, and her mathematics was really good, so he could teach them mathematics and some physics. And yeah, it was really fun for us, because many of my family, my relatives, especially my father relatives, didn't believe to our teaching, our studying, and most of the time they criticize my father. Why you send your daughter to the school? Many friends of my father criticize my father. Why you send your daughter to a school? Why it is not good for them? And then when I became the teacher on that school, they asked my father, please tell your daughter to accept our grandchildren or sister or our children. It was really nice time, because after many years of tolerance of those kind of criticize, they came to me and my father and asked them to accept their children in our schools. And then everybody just start to respect my father, respect to my family, because we became a teacher of their children. And so in Afghan culture, the teacher have a special respect between the people. Everybody try to respect to the teachers and to the mullahs, because mullahs in somehow are kind of teacher for people. So we get a lot of respect from people, from neighbors, from everybody. My father like that, and so it helped. After that, my father believed on me, my sister, and in somehow before that, my father didn't see any girl who do something like this for other Afghans, or do something like this for their families or for society. So for first time, it was really important for me, because my father start thinking about the ability of girls, and then my parents' relative also changed their mind. Then in 2001, Soviet United States came to Afghanistan, and then in 2003 we decided to come back to Afghanistan. Soon after that, we came back in 2003 in Afghanistan. The first station after Iran border was Herat city, and we decided to stay here. This is Afghanistan.
So how did the Iranian government, I understood that your school got shut down a couple of times. Is that true?
Yeah, they did several times, but finally we could talk with the embassy of Afghanistan in Tehran, and we told them this is the more than 300 students. The Iranian government don't accept them to the legal schools, to the governmental school. What should we do? You have to talk with the Iranian police and authority to let us to do that. And so the Iranian government afraid, because if someone from United Nations, from UNICEF or others came to our school and they see nothing, we didn't have anything in a school. And then on that situation, we teach the children, and the Iranian government also don't support any kind of support, not book, not anything. For the children, it was not good for them. So we tried to keep our activity very silent, underground. And the embassy of the Afghanistan in Tehran asked us, don't do anything that could provoke the Iranian government. You just can keep low profile and just teach the students, no any kind of cultural program or any kind of activity, just teach the children. And so we try to keep low profile, and we in 2000, once they closed, and then we change our house and start again. And then when we moved to that underground of that stationery shop, so I think the situation became a little bit better because the landlord in somehow tried to protect us, because we had a benefit for him also.
Yeah. And the storekeeper was Iranian?
Yeah, he was Iranian. In Iran, we didn't have right to have a shop, a store, even a store in Iran. Yeah, all of them was Iranian.
Yeah, I can kind of understand why your dad was a little concerned about your rebellious school, your rebellious ways. He felt it was very dangerous for the family if they were sent back to Afghanistan.
Yeah. We hear another school was in another city, and the Iranian government understand about that, and they took all their identity cards and told them we want to send you back to Afghanistan. I don't remember the Iranian government sent that family to Afghanistan back or not. No one after that tried to open a school on that city, because the mayor, police, and others was really against that kind of activity. But in this part of the city, we try to keep it silent. We keep it really low profile. We try to take the children also very silent. I remember every 2 hours, I stand in a street and try to monitor and observe the students. When they come to our school, they don't fight together, they don't play together, they come really silent, and then they go really silent, because if our neighbors make a complaint against us, it put us on a real trouble in a police and on that part of the city. So we try to keep them really silent. And so I remember, it was tough time, because 300 students, if we try to keep them all silent, it was really hard for them. Once or 2 times a year, we try to take them to some mountain somewhere out of the city, 20 of them, 30 of them, and ask them, you can play, you can fight, you can everything here. It is out of city, you can do everything. And so we try to keep them silent like this. No, you cannot play, you cannot make noise. but maybe 3 months later or 6 months later, we take you in other part of the city, not city, out of the city, and we let you to play together or do everything you want. So yeah.
So did you live among the Iranians, or were you in an Afghan neighborhood? I mean, were the Afghans congregated together in a community, or were you also living in a community with Iranians around you?
We lived with the Iranian, not in a community. In Iran, I think there was not a kind of Afghan community. Just in Mashhad, I think there was some Afghan community, but not in Tehran, not in other provinces. We lived with the Iranian neighbor.
So you were a teenager, right?
Yeah.
So yeah. What was it inside of you, and where did that come from, that made you decide that you wanted to go up against the Iranian government by creating an underground school for Afghan students?
Actually, I didn't want to go against Iranian government. I just thought I cannot go to the university. I cannot have any job. Okay, I can teach everything I learned to other students. And I didn't have any idea of making a school. I just wanted to teach to my neighbor children, because in my neighborhood, I think 2-3 other Afghan children were. They couldn't go to their school. And so my plan for first was just teaching to that of 3-5 students. But when others understand about Afghan families have a really strong relationship with each other, they live separate. In Iran, they live separate in different places, but they had a really a strong relationship. They visit each other every day, every week, and every Eid, every New Year. And so they said, talk with each other and told to each other, I find a teacher, I send my children to Jafari's house, and she teach my children, you can send them, your children also to her home. So the family of those children inform each other about those home school. And when they come to me, I couldn't refuse. I don't want to teach your children. So yeah, the first, it was not doing something against the Iranian government or Iranian authority.
Did you think at the time that it was particularly courageous?
When they become 20, yeah, I think it was courageous, because when I left my my home and went to the other student home, it was not easy, because on that time my family come from a conservative family. It was not easy to let their daughters to go to the other homes. I don't know some of them, and teach their children. So yeah. You know, my father also was a kind of conservative. First, I told you, when I was 9 years old, my father was willing to stop me from going to a school. My mother could convince him to let me to go to the school. So yeah, my father was like other Afghan men on that years, 30 years ago, 20 years ago. So it was, yeah, a little, I think I was brave on that time.
At the time, did you think that you were being courageous, or did you just not think much about it and were just doing what you thought was the right thing to do?
First, I thought it is right thing to do. And then I thought with myself, I clearly remember, I thought with myself, I studied to high school, up to high school. If I stay at home and I wait for someone to come to my home and marry me with me, why I went to the school? why I convinced a fight with my family, with the schools, with everybody, why I have to I went to the school. So I on that time I clearly remember I want to do something, and to convince my father, um, um, what he did for me and let me to go to the school was not nothing. I can do something for myself, for my family, or for community, for other Afghan children. And also, most of time I hear my father criticize my mother and say, "You put me on the page. You push me to send my daughter to a school. Why? They will finish the high school, and then what will happen? They cannot go to the university." I want um, to show my father what my mother did for me was not nothing. It has a my mother, when my mother threw us task, I have to do something to make her proud. And so yeah, teaching was that kind of activity. Uh, when my student become more and more, I really proud myself, and my father also proud more to me and my sister, and also um, proud to himself. Because at that time, my father said, "Okay, yeah, I send my daughter to the school, and now, yeah, I support him, her, and I send her to the school. You know how trouble I accepted to send them to the school. Yeah, my father really did really great job, but he didn't think I can do something for other children or for others. But yeah, my father get a lot of respect from other Afghan refugee, and so everybody respect my father, called him the father of teacher, and so yeah, it was good.
Are your parents still alive?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. My mother just 20 years is 20 years older than me, and my father maybe 25 years older than me. My father is like you, I think. Yeah, he's alive, and he proud me a lot now.
That's right. That was going to be my next question is what does your father think of you now?
Yeah, first we had a tough time in Iran. When I come back to Afghanistan, I could go to the university. My mother really loved to see me as a doctor or midwife or nurse. So I went to the midwifery school. I participated to the concours exam, which is the entrance exam of the university in Afghanistan, and I accepted in a midwifery school. I remember my mother making cookie and give to all my neighbors, and told them my daughter become a midwife, and she will get she will help all of you, and so she became really happy. And my father became really happy. Our relative who lives in Daikundi, that criticized most of time my father and my mother, why you send your daughter to a school, they became aware of this situation. So in the morning, I went to the midwifery school. In the afternoon, I started teaching in a private school because I had to support my family. We didn't come from a rich family in Afghanistan, so I support my family also with my income from a private school. And then this news went to the Daikundi, to my relative, my uncle and others, and then can you imagine they encourage their daughters to go to the school. Now we have a lot of cousins who went to the India, to United States, to other places, and they got their master's degree and came back. And my father sometimes thought, just because of you, they send their daughters to the India, to United States, to Kyrgyzstan, to other places. They send their daughter because they thought, okay, if she sent her daughter to the school, and then if she became a midwife and she's a teacher, she has her own income, she could support her family. Why our daughter do not that. And then they send their daughters to the schools. And now my cousin, our professor in a Kabul University, she came back from India just last year with a master's degree from economy. Another one studied art. Another one studied sociology or something like that. Three of them work in Kabul. Their family living in the Daikundi, but these three sisters work in Kabul. They have their own house, and three of them, just three young girls working in Kabul. One of them in a university, another one in a municipality, another one I don't know where. So I know another cousin also went to the India, to other places, and graduated and come back, and now are working in Kabul. So yeah, my parents really proud now.
As they should be. So in 2003, how old were you? You came back to Afghanistan in 2003, right?
I think I was 22, 23.
Okay.
I think, yeah.
And so what did your family felt like it was safe enough to come back to Afghanistan?
You know, we didn't have any future in Iran. And so we were three young children, me, my sister, and my brother. And we couldn't go to the university. We graduated from high school with top degree, but top grade. We couldn't go anywhere. So on that time, my father believed on me and my children and my sister and brother. And they, my family thought they have to do something to give us a chance to continue our education. And Afghanistan was the only chance we did have. Also, the other things, living in Iran was not easy for us. Not for my parents, my mother and my dad. So they decided to come back to Afghanistan and they start new things. In 2001, when the United States came to Afghanistan and overthrew the Taliban, many good news came from Afghanistan to Iran. They start to a reconstruction in Afghanistan. For first time, we had a democracy in Afghanistan. Every citizen in Afghanistan could have access to equal rights. Before that, in Afghanistan, we had some division between tribe, and some tribe was eligible for everything. Some other ethnic group was really in bad situation. So, but democracy was different thing. Everybody could be an equal citizen in Afghanistan, and so during that 2 years, we hear many good news from Afghanistan. We decided to come back to Afghanistan and start our activity from Afghanistan and put our energy in Afghanistan. So it was really a wise decision on that time, I think, because in Iran, I have a lot of friends, classmates who stayed in Iran. Most of them are just working as a daily worker after high school because they cannot go and do anything more. And so it was really a really wise decision on that time.
So what did you do? You came back to Herat. Tell me about what happened after that when you got to Herat. And
when we arrived in Herat, it was the first station after Iran border, and so we before that in 1970, 1990, every ethnic group belonged to the specific province. Like we belonged, we were Hazara, and our place was in Bamiyan, Daikundi, or Ghor. And it was not easy to live in and settle in a different provinces. But after democracy, after 2001, everybody had equal right to live everywhere they want. We decided to live in Herat. I think because we had a relative, far relative there in Herat, and so that relative show us around Herat, and then my father immediately went to the Kabul to take us identification card, identity card, Afghan identity card. And so I immediately could find a job in a barrack, an organization from Bangladesh who support the Afghan women with giving a small loan to the Afghan women, and the Afghan women could buy, I don't know, a hen or some animal, and or doing something with that small loan. So I start my job there as a monitor of those organizations, and immediately I could find a job. It was unimaginable for me during 1 month from when I come back from Iran, I could find a job. And then my father was really happy. He went to the Kabul, he get identification card for us, taskira for us, and also enroll us for a concours exam. Me and my sister and my brother, 3 of us. And so my brother also could find a job, my sister could find a job, and 3 of us could find a job in Herat. So because of that, I think we settled because we could find a job very soon. And so it helped to settle in Herat and continue our activity there.
And so your first job was monitoring microloans?
Yeah.
For an NGO?
Yeah, for an NGO, Bangladeshi NGO, yeah, called Barak, BRC.
Right, exactly. So but that wasn't enough, right? You still had to do more, right? You couldn't just.
Yeah. And then when my father come back to Herat, he informed us. He enrolled us in a concours exam. We became really happy because we didn't thought our father doing something like that. My father was not really okay with the education of girls 10 years ago when I remember. But my father went to Kabul and enrolled us in a concours exam. On that year, I accepted in a midwifery school, my sister in a English literature, my brother in a oil gas in Mazar Sharif and mining in Mazar Sharif, 3 of us. And my father became really proud because all of 3 children, his children accepted in a university. Was because of some financial issue. My brother decided to work and support financially our family. And me and my sister went to the university. But I decided to work and find a job, a part-time job. And so I find a Tawhid school. I don't know in Herat you remember or not. It was a really famous school, in private school in Herat. So they accepted me as a teacher, and I started my job as a teacher. In the morning, I went to the midwifery school from 8 to 1 p.m. And then from 1:30 to 6, I went to the private school. And sometimes I had a night duty. And so in a 6, I came back to the hospital, and we had a patient, and we visit patient and support delivery and something like that to tomorrow 9:30 morning. And then from 9:30, I went to the home and sleep for 2-3 hours, and then immediately I wake up and came back to the school. So it was, if you can't, maybe more than 80-90 hours per week, I teach and studied and had a night duty. And so my brother told me at that time, I can never see Fatema awake. Most of the time I was asleep because I had night duty, and so it was really, really tough time, but fun time. I remember many good memories from that time.
So what happened, or what are your thoughts on, was the Taliban active during that time? Was there?
Yeah, when I graduated from midwifery school, I went to the Guzara Hospital. I think you remember Guzara Hospital in near the airport.
Yeah.
Herat Airport. I worked there, and I remember when I was in a delivery room, Taliban attacked to the hospital. They shoot some rocket to the yard of the hospital, and electricity just off, and I with the patient was to the delivery room. It was really tough time and really a scary time, because I thought the hospital had a small wall, and everybody could jump on that wall. I remember from that night, I thought I prayed to with this kind of rocket could kill me, not make me disabled. Like I cannot, I lost my feet, or I lost my hands, or my vision. What should I do after that? Um, the Taliban didn't came to the hospital. They just shoot some rocket in a yard of the hospital, but it was really a scary time. I remember, I don't know, maybe I was really young, and I don't know why, but in the morning I went to home, and the day after that, again, I came back to the hospital, and I continued my job there. For a year, I think I work in the Guzara Hospital, and then I find another job in a Molan district, in a Molan, which was another village of belong to the Guzara. Guzara was really unsafe on that time. In I think 2000, it was 2008, I think 2008, yeah, 7 or 8. It was not a safe place, but every morning I went to the clinic, and I tried to treat the patient. Most of the many times, some people who injured because of bullet came to the that clinic, and so I remember it was not safe on that time also. But I thought I have to work. I had planned to go to the Daikandi, because I heard it was a really deprived province, and I thought with myself I can go there. But I get married on that year, and so I couldn't go there. But yeah, for 2 years I work in a remote area in districts and villages in Herat.
So did you feel like when you were going from your teaching job to your hospital responsibilities to university studies and then back home, all these, did you feel did you feel that it was dangerous going and doing your daily kinds of things that you were doing in your life at that time? Did you feel that, or did you sense that it was dangerous?
You know, on that time, I was really hopeful about the future of Afghanistan. I thought, yeah, it has happened. Tomorrow, it don't happen tomorrow. And so, okay, it was an accident for today. Tomorrow, the situation will be better. When I was in a hospital and I work in a clinic, I thought like this. But most of the time, I think it's a necessary job I have to do, because in 2009, I remember that Afghanistan had the highest number of mortality rate between women in the world. And so the midwives did really vital job for women in Afghanistan, in Herat especially. When I was teach, that was another thing, because because of many years of war, we didn't have a professional teacher. Many of my colleagues in a Tawhid High School, which was the best one in Herat in 2004, 2005, didn't graduate from high school. it was a best school in Herat, but most of their teachers didn't graduate from high school. Because of that, I thought it is necessary. I have to do that for my family. I have to do that because I thought with myself, financially, I have to support them, my family. And then in other side, I thought they need me. I have to do these things because I remember my mother really hardly talked with my father to convince him to put me at a school, to let me go to the school. I thought I have to do something to proud my mother. I have something to proud my family. So yeah, I think they had a lot of reasons I did that job. My family.
I can see your mother in you.
Yeah, everybody said she's really like looks like me. Her face also is really like me.
Yeah. I've never seen your mother, but I can see her in your courage and your desire for good things to happen for your families.
I had a friend who know my father. My father many years ago in Herat had a small shop, and so my friend said, one day I went to your father's store, and someone came to my father's store and told her my wife is really sick and doctors cannot treat him, and so I'm really worried about her. My father said, okay, my daughter is a midwife. She can do everything. You can bring your wife to my daughter. I am sure your wife gonna she can help your wife. And when my friend told me, oh my God, your father really believe on you.
I think so.
Said, doctor cannot do anything. Your father said, no, my daughter is a wife, and I'm sure she can do it, everything. So yeah, then my father really trusted me.
That's great. So what did you think? Were you hopeful at this time that Afghanistan would change, that good things were coming to Afghanistan at this time?
You know, it's a really complicated situation now in Afghanistan. I'm really hopeful about this peace process. I was hopeful, and now I am really hopeful about optimistic about the peace process. Many people, especially the Afghan government, told us they are Talib, they are terrorists, they are extremists, and when they come to the country, they will destroy everything. But I remember other Jihadi leader was like Taliban, all of them extremists. All of them was extremists. Sayyaf, you know him, or Hikmatyar, or all of them. All of them was Muslim extremists, and they did something sometimes worse than Taliban did during these times. I have a real problem with Taliban because I am Hazara, and they thought if they kill me, they will go directly to the heaven. But I think killing and fighting is not a solution for Afghanistan. During last 20 years, we fight with Taliban, but because of corruption, because of many issues, we couldn't overcome to the Taliban. So I think after this, in next 20 years, we cannot overcome to the Taliban. So peace is the only way we can be hopeful about the future of Afghanistan. And Taliban, I think, are just like a mujahideen. If the United States and other international community use their average on Taliban as they use their leverage on mujahideen leader, I think democracy will become strong in Afghanistan also. I'm optimistic. I think if the pressure on the government of Afghanistan and Taliban became increased, by the United States and other, I can be hopeful about the future.
Yeah. So what year did you and Hussein, were you married?
In 2000, I think it was 2007.
Okay, 2007. Why did you decide to run for the Herat Provincial Council?
In 2008, in a midwifery school, I could find a job as a teacher, and so during that year, I had a chance to participate to the some social activity, some civil activity. I participated to the round tables, to this kind of activity like women rights, about equality, some workshops, some webinar about this kind of issues. So, and I found out that we do not have enough female representative in a provincial council, and the provincial council have a good authority and good power to bring change to Afghanistan. When I was in a Guzara hospital, I was in Malon clinic, many women came to me, most of them injured because of their husbands, brothers, their male member of their family. And so I found out how Afghan women suffered from domestic violence. And then when I was in a midwifery school as a teacher, I worked there, I find out how Afghan women keep deprived from their basic rights. And so I had a kind of experience with the people when I was in Iran with Afghan refugee family. And I knew about their situation and how they suffer from the injustice. In Afghanistan, we had the same problem in Herat also on that year. At the end of 2008, I hear about the provincial council election, and so I thought with my husband. He told me, yeah, you can do that. You have to participate to the election. I talked with my father. My father said, no, what should we do with security and financial problem? We have a financial problem. Participating to the election need a lot of money. Who will support you? And then we talked with every relative, and most of them was against this decision. But my colleagues in a midwifery school told me, yeah, Fatema, you can do that. And my student also, they told me, yeah, encourage me, we can support you. We are more than 100 students, and we can convince our family to vote for you. You have to run for the election. So finally, after 2-3 months, I could convince my father, my parents, and then other relatives, please let us to go to run for election. That time, the conservative family didn't like their young girl, young woman, go to the city and put her picture every corner of the city and ask to the people to vote for me or participate to the gathering, public gathering. The matter of honor, about Afghanistan. And so what me and my husband, both of us, could convince them, our family. And then we went and we enrolled our name as a candidate for the election in 2009. But the other problem was no one knows us. I worked in a midwifery school and hospital and clinic, and so it was another challenge we have to face with that. On that year in 2009, more than 184 people participated to the election. Most of them was the jihadi leaders, the children of those jihadi leaders, really rich people. They originally belonged to the Herat. No one knows me and my family in Herat. We didn't belong to Herat originally. So, but I had good support of my husband, my colleagues in a midwifery school, and other midwives who work in a different part of the Herat. Can you imagine? I get 12 votes from the from Shindan district, 12 votes, and those 12 votes was a doctor and midwives of the health clinic in Shindan. Shindan district. Yeah, and in Herat, unfortunately, still the people just voted for their ethnic group members. For example, a Pashtun don't want to vote for a Hazara, but because of my student, 3,000, I got 6,000 votes. 3,000 votes of mine belong to the Gazergov, to the somewhere around the Vilayat, from other people, not Hazara people. Just 3,000 of those people, of 6,000 votes belong to the Jibreel or Mahalla or other Hazara community places. So the other thing I could do in Herat, no one take me serious on that time. I was really young. I didn't have enough money. I was belong to the Hazara community, which was a minority group in Herat, and so no one considered me as a serious candidate for that election. We tried to do some creativity in our campaign. For example, we with my students from midwifery school went to the door to door of the Jibreel, for example, area, and asked the woman to vote for me and support us to the election. And most of them told us we have just only one vote. With this one vote, you cannot win the election. And then most of them told, why we have to vote for a young woman? Our husband, our brother, our father told us, our mullah from masjid told us, vote for Zara Haqju, another candidate who was a Jahadi and who was a prominent Hazara and also the former member of provincial council. We want to vote for Haji Zara. Why we have to vote for a young girl from a school? And then I told to those women, okay, this Haji Zara was 4 years your representative in a provincial council. What did he do for? What did he do for you? They said nothing. He not supposed to do anything for us. He is the representative of our husband and our community in a provincial council. I told them, for example, when your husband beat you, can you go to the Mr. Zara and ask him for justice or to support you, protect you? He said no, because he's a man and he will support and protect my husband, not me. And I told him, but I am a woman. I can support you. I can help you. I can go with you in a prosecutor office. I can go with you in a court. I can do many things for you. And then they say, okay, I have just one vote. With this one vote, how we can bring change and make you a representative? I told them, okay, no problem. I can see your power just in a specific day, this day, and this all come to this specific place. And then most of them said, okay, now we will come. I had a lot of friends, my students, and they prepare some picture of mine. They prepare some banners to support me. And so on that specific day, more than thousands of women came to that street, and they make a kind of demonstration, and we give them my picture and my banner to them, and most of them become really happy because they become more than thousands of women, and they walked, I think, a kilometer from that street to my campaign office. And then other people, other candidates thought with myself, oh my God, this is the serious candidate for this election, because just if this woman vote for her, it's enough for her. No need for any more campaign. And also, I couldn't go to the district because of Taliban, because of security. But because I was for 3-4 years teacher in a school, I could really, I was really good speaker in Persian. Not in English, but in Persian, I was really good speaker. And so I talked with some TV channel, local TV channel, and I asked them, please make kind of debate between us candidate and the people could understand, could know us. And so they said, okay, it is a good idea. And they invite me to those debates. For the Herati people, it was really interesting. A woman participated on a debate for the first time in Herat and talked about his idea, her idea and her plan about being a member of provincial council. Most of people in Herat, unfortunately, just said, we belong to this ethnic group. And so they didn't talk about their specific plans. But I had a specific plan for women and for youth, because I told them more than 60% of the population in Herat belongs to the youth and more than 50% women. I want to do this for youth and for women. And so it was interesting for them to hear from a woman about their plans and program for provincial council. So on that time, on that years, I get 6,000 votes. The first one was a clerk, a famous clerk, but his name was Najafi, Azizullah Najafi, who get 12,000 votes. He was the first one. And then some others, and I was the sixth. I was between 184 persons who participated to the election. I was the 9th one who get the highest vote. Without using from woman quota, I went to the provincial council, and so yeah, it was really good memory. I have really good memory from that time. I remember many people, I asked them to come to my campaign and support me. I asked from many men. They thought she's not serious candidate. She's a woman. She do not have enough money. And then I didn't have any man in my campaign. Can you imagine? Most of them was women, and some, yeah. And then after that, they tried to respect me and ask me support, ask me help, and I tried to support them and to support the people, even men, especially I work for the women in Herat and also for my community, because they were minority in Herat and they deprived from many things in Herat. So they had a lot of problems with schools, with health clinic, with road, with many things. I try to support them also and advocate for their schools, for their clinics, for roads, for bridge. They need a bridge, and so I try to show them my commitment and also my ability, political ability. I can convince the governor of Herat to build for you a school, to build for you a bridge. I could convince the PRT in Herat to, for example, build for you a clinic or police station, or support you with the electricity or something. So we had a man, a member in provincial council, but most of time those men, they had other priority. People was not their first priority. So I try to convince them the woman can do many things, sometimes more than men. And for women also, I didn't have enough experience. I did know that. And I tried to invite NGOs and women activists to the provincial council, and I tried to connect them to the provincial council. I talked with Mr. Faizdada, the chairman of provincial council, and asked them to put me in as a family support committee and he accepted. And so I invited more than 80 civil society activists, NGO leaders who came to the provincial council. I asked them, please support me to do something for women in Herat, because the women on that time, the self-burning in Herat was, the number of self-burning in Herat was highest in Afghanistan in 2009, 10. Most of women, because of domestic violence, they didn't have access to the court or lawyer or prosecutor's office. They decided to burn themselves. So we try to talk with that NGOs and women activists to find a solution for this kind of problem for them. And so we built a family support committee. We held the election between those NGOs and women activists, and 3 of them elected by those 80 NGO and women activists as a 3 deputy of the family support committee. One of them for monitoring of the situation of women. Another one was advocacy for women who suffer from violence, gender-based violence, and also coordination between those NGOs and governmental office also. And so we try to work more actively for women also in provincial council, and they connected those activists, professor from university, human rights commission, connected directly with the provincial council. We had authority, but I didn't have enough experience, and so we became really a strong committee in a provincial council. And so we tried to monitor. We went to the different districts, different places, and we try to monitor the women's situation and so follow up the cases that women suffered from, for example, gender-based violence, because prosecutor office didn't take serious the women cases. Court also has a lot of problems with women, and so yeah, it was a golden time of mine, I think. The first 4 years in provincial council.
So I've seen pictures of you speaking in mosques and other places where all I see are men.
Yeah.
What was your experience with being a woman and having great ideas and great ambition, but having to deal with the men of Herat?
You know, my idea was to convince them the women have ability. So I went to the main mosque of the Jibreel and asked the clerk to let me to talk about my activity during last year. I want to give the people the report of my activity during last year, because they have a right to know about my activity during last year. And so first he said, no, this is not a good place for women. I said, I'm not a woman. I am now representative of these people in a provincial council. Why you let other representatives to came to the mosque and talk? I have to talk. Others came to mosque and just campaign for themselves during the election, not after that. No one in Herat went to the mosque and give the people about their activity, a report about their activity. And so I, with a lot of fighting with the mullahs, I could get a time, and he said, okay, just 10 minutes, you can talk. And I said, okay, just 10 minutes. And so I went there and I talked about some challenges and that the people had, and I give them a report about my activity for that people doing anything for women. For example, on that place, I couldn't tell them I just advocate for view of women and I built the family support committee. I have to talk about their problems and what I did for this problem. And so the people become really happy because it was another first time. And I told them, I'm not your your Lord. I am just a kind of servant, a representative. You have to talk with me about your challenges, your problem. I know about the injustice in Herat. I know about the corruption in Herat. You can talk with me. I can advocate for this kind of problem. I know you have a problem with a school, with clinic, with this kind of issue. I can advocate for this kind of issues. And so the people became really happy. And the mullah also after that couldn't stop me, because every 6 months, especially during the Eid, I went to the mosque and I give them the report. And then the other member of provincial council did the same, because they criticized, why Jafari give us her report, but you do not give us the report of your activity. So it became a kind of tradition, especially in Jabari.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
So I first met you in 2016 in Washington, D.C., when we signed a Sister Cities partnership between Council Bluffs, Iowa, and Herat, Afghanistan. And you were at the National Endowment for Democracy and getting ready to go. You were towards the end of that year-long fellowship, and then you were on to Yale University for a 6-month fellowship. Can you talk a little bit about how that came about, and a little bit about your experiences there in those 2 fellowships?
After 5 years of working in a provincial council, in 2014, we had another election. And so the people this time asked me to participate to the election. I participated to the election in 2014, and I got vote for second time as a member of provincial council. But I thought with myself, I have to make aware about the real democracy. I have to learn something more, because here in Afghanistan, I didn't have a really good experience, or I couldn't get a good knowledge about the democracy in Afghanistan. So I decided to go out and to see what's going on in a democratic countries, how their representatives treat with the people, and what look like a democratic country. So I decided to apply for a 2 fellowship. I thought maybe one of them, I could get one of them, but I was really lucky, because I get both of them in National Endowment for Democracy, which was really wonderful one. I could live in Washington for 5 months, and with USID, with Senate, with many people, I could introduce, and then I went to the Yale University for 4 months. And so that was a really wonderful time for me, because in an academic area, I could find a friend from different parts of the world, 60 fellows from 16 countries. Most of them worked in a really high level in politics in their countries, and so it was really wonderful time for me to get information about the situation, their situation in their own country, and how they work are working in their countries. And on that time, I had also a space, a time to thinking about my past and about the future. And also I thought with myself, I've been for 6 years, I've been a representative in a provincial council. It's a unique experience, and I can write my experience about my experience in an article. But I find 8 months, because I got 2 fellowship, and it was enough time to writing about experience, my experience in a book. So I start a book, writing a book, Women Political Participation in Afghanistan. In this book, I try to write about history of women, political activity history in Afghanistan, and then about the challenges that Afghan women are faced in Afghanistan in politics, and then about some opportunity, because everybody just talking about the challenges, the problems that exist in Afghanistan in a way of the women. So I tried to write about some opportunity, like media, like international support, like the quota in a constitutional law of Afghanistan, like many good things in Afghanistan, good opportunity in Afghanistan. And then I tried to write about 3 countries, Rwanda, Iceland, and United States, and how the women in these 3 countries act, and what was the result of their activity in these 3 countries. So during that 8 months, I could finish my book. I was not a writer, but in Afghanistan, especially in a university, many students, many professors like it, and I republished it again in 2019. In 2019, yeah.
Well, you do not seem to have done anything that you knew how to do to begin with, but you've done it remarkably well.
Oh yeah.
Light of it.
Yeah.
So this is March 14th in 2021, and in the fall you're heading to the UK for another academic experience. Would you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, you know, I'm really happy for that, because in Afghanistan, I went to the university, but you know about the quality of education in Afghanistan. All the time, I thought with myself, oh my God, one of the biggest dream of mine was to go to the university, real university, with real resource, real professor, and build my capacity there. You know, everything I did during last 20 years, I did for my family, for the people, for money, for because I thought it is my job. I have to do that. I didn't do anything for myself. This one is just for myself. I want to go to the Bradford University, and I want just to study and write about peace, security, and conflict and development. And you cannot imagine how I am happy about that. So yeah, I'm just counting every minute to this September 22 to go to the university. It is a little bit late because I think every student there are 18, 19, 20, 22. I am 40, but no matter, I will go there.
You'll be the wise woman in the classroom with so much more experience to offer.
I'm not sure about being wise, but I am the most experienced one, I think.
That's true. So I might mention that this is on a peace fellowship from Rotary International. That is sponsored.
And I'm really thankful of you, Rick. Thankful of you because of your recommendation, support. Thank you so much for that.
Well, I look forward to great return on that investment. What little I'm responsible for, and I'm sure the return on the Rotary's Peace Fellowship will yield great returns in the future. So let me just. So what do you hope? What are your hopes for Afghanistan?
What I hope. Can you hear me? Because
I can.
They say my internet is unstable. Can you hear me?
I can hear you now. Yes.
Okay.
Good.
I hope this peace process lead us to a peace, because you know we really suffer of war, every family in Afghanistan, and we are really tired of fighting with each other. Really tired. Everybody are really tired of fighting. I hope this peace process lead us to a peace. And then I'm really optimistic about the future of Afghanistan. If we have enough security, I think I know many young women, many young men who went to the other country abroad in United States, Europe, India, other countries, get educated, experienced, and they are really willing to come back to Afghanistan and rebuild the country. So I am really hopeful. But now in this situation, with these security challenges, many of them cannot come back. And so I think after peace, many things will change. And I'm really optimistic. You know, in 2001, we didn't have any human resource in Afghanistan. You know about that. Many Afghan leaders talk about that. They didn't have educated people in Afghanistan after 25 years war. The war destroyed all thing in Afghanistan. But now, during this last 20 years, many things built in Afghanistan. And so if the peace, we could bring peace in Afghanistan with the support of international community, especially United States. I'm really hopeful about the future. Because now we do have a human resource. And I think oil, gas, gold, they are not a real resource of Afghanistan. The humans are real source of Afghanistan. If they become educated, become experienced, and become professional, they can build the country again.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much, Fatema, and thank Hussein for allowing you to spend this time with me with this interview. You are an inspiring and courageous example of women in Afghanistan, and your influence has already been wide and broad and far and deep. I expect the same will continue on into the future. So thank you for all that you're doing and all that you have done, and for the courage that you've shown all of us that can be found. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Rick. You know, everything changed after 2001. I talked enough about our situation in Iran. I know the refugee situation in Pakistan was not better than that. The people in Afghanistan also suffered from endless war in Afghanistan. Just because of democracy, we could find a space to show our ability and our passion and our commitment to the country. So all this come because great tough decision made in 2001. Many people maybe criticize United States, but I think it was for us as an Afghan female who belong to the minority group in Afghanistan, it was a real chance for us to enjoy, to see ourselves as an equal citizen in Afghanistan. So I think a special thank of the Afghan people come back to the United States, to especially United States and international community, because they gave us this space to show our ability and our commitment to the country. So I know many problems are in Afghanistan. Corruption is one of the biggest one, but I think finally we could find our way.
Yeah. Well, you certainly risen to the challenge, so you've taken the opportunity and certainly done with it more than could be expected. So, thank you.